take some ready-to-use paste opaquer from the syringe or jar and mix. Apply a thin layer of wash material using a brush. The framework is adequately supported on the firing tray for each firing cycle. Subsequently, firing is conducted using the firing parameters for the first opaquer firing. The second opaquer layer is applied in such a way that the framework is completely covered. For a characterization of the opaquer layer, intensive opaquers may be used. After firing, the opaquer should demonstrate a silky matte gloss. For enhanced in-depth fluorescence, the opaquer F can be used. Either apply the opaquer F as a thin third opaquer layer and fire, or mix up to 20% of opaquer F with the conventional opaquer before the second layer is applied. Place the opaquerized metal framework on the model. Choose the respective margin material and margin buildup liquid from the modular and clearly arranged kit. First, the model die is isolated in the cervical area with IPS margin sealer. Once the sealer has dried, IPS ceramic separating liquid is applied. Mix the margin material with the margin buildup liquid on the mixing plate until a creamy consistency is achieved. 4 additional intensive materials are available for fabricating highly aesthetic restorations. Apply small drops of margin material in the cervical area and dry. Carefully remove the framework with the dried margin material from the die and fire. Once the model die has been isolated again with IPS ceramic separating liquid, supplement the missing areas and fill the gap, which is formed after the first firing, with margin material. In order to ensure ideal fit of the shoulder, remove the framework with the dried shoulder material carefully from the die and fire. Choose the dentin, incisal, and intensive materials in the respective shade and the buildup liquid. For isolating the stone pontic and the adjacent teeth, the IPS model sealer and the IPS ceramic separating liquid are used. Place the opaquerized framework on the model. For shade adjustments in the cervical region, deep dentin materials can be used. The shade can be intensified with, for example, the occlusal dentin materials. The deep dentin materials are mixed with the buildup liquid. The cervical, interdental, and palatal areas are layered with deep dentin materials. The framework is carefully placed on the model, and the cervical and occlusal areas are supplemented. The dentin material is mixed with the buildup liquid. It can be ideally layered and features excellent stability. The entire tooth shape is contoured starting from the incisal. The available space is checked in the stratos. Transpa incisal is mixed with the buildup liquid and applied from the incisal up to the incisal third and occlusal area in small portions. The anatomical shape is slightly over-contoured. The available space and functional occlusion are checked in the stratos. After carefully lifting the bridge from the model, the contact points are supplemented with dentin and incisal material. The ceramic surface is densified by running a large dry brush over it, which will reduce a retraction of the ceramic in the cervical margin. The layered bridge is separated in the interdental areas using a sharp instrument in order to control the volume shrinkage of the ceramic. Subsequently, the first dentin incisal firing is conducted according to the respective firing parameters. The ceramic bridge is finished with the recommended grinding instruments. The occlusal contacts and proximal contact areas are checked on the model and in the stratus and adjusted by grinding. Subsequently, a thin diamond disc is used to separate the interdental areas down to the opaquer. Missing areas and proximal contact points are filled with dentin incisal materials. For opalescent effects, the materials from the impulse kit are available. Fit and function are checked in the Stratos. The ceramic surface can be pre-densified by running a large dry brush over it. Provide adequate support for the restoration on the IPS uni-tray and fire the bridge in the programmat furnace. After the second firing, the surface structure is designed and growth lines are applied so that the light is refracted and reflected in different ways. The contact points and function are checked again. Dispense the desired amount of shade, stains, and glaze pastes. Dilute with the glaze stains liquid and mix. For shade adjustments, the dentin stains can be used. If only small adjustments are required, they can be directly applied with a glaze firing. Apply a thin layer of glaze paste on the ceramic bridge and add individual characterizations such as discoloration and enamel stains in the interdental and occlusal areas. Final check of the shade, fit, and function of the restoration. Accurate, fast, and beautiful restorations with IPS Inline.